Story time. I've got a question. Does having money buy justice in your country? So a friend of mine said that he thinks that some corruption in the civil court process for precarious eviction, that I had attended the verbal hearing on the 10th of June 2022, and the hearing lasted 5 minutes. No questions asked, no interrogation of the plaintiff, no opportunity for me to speak. I was silenced. I was told by that solicitor, the judge will order your eviction. Now, I have heard that there can be corruption in legal cases. Solicitors come to some sort of deal, an exchange of cash, behind closed doors. I have no way of knowing. But what I do know is that what happened in that court on June the 10th of 2022 was not right by any means. There was no evidence presented. I did not get a fair trial. There are 2 grounds for discrimination under Spanish law. 1, language. Neither party speaks or understands Spanish. 2, socio-economic status. The defendant, me, recognised free legal justice lacking any type of income, so the court would have to appoint an interpreter. So, I received the evidence that was sent to me in 2023 after I requested a change of solicitor. I had already been informed by a court official 5 days before the court hearing that my solicitor was not helping me and that I should sack the solicitor. Only I didn't do that because I understood that the court was a verbal hearing. So I went ahead with that 5 days later. See, it wasn't a verbal hearing. I wasn't allowed to speak. So no evidence was presented and everything was quiet. So what happened in order that no questions were asked? So the 2 legal representatives on my side for the defence filed an email to the court on the 30th of May of 2022. And this email read, on May the 25th, I was notified of the ordinance diligence dated 23rd of the same month, for which we are required to state whether we will request the interrogation of the plaintiff in order to hire a translator, since the plaintiff does not know the language. Therefore, we declare that this lawyer will not request the interrogation of the plaintiff, and that in any case, neither party speaks or understands Spanish. The defendant, having recognised free justice lacking any type of income, so in any case, it will have to be appointed interpreter by the court. By virtue of it, I beg the court that having presented this writ, admit it, and by virtue take for granted the statements made acting in accordance. It is to be done justice that I ask in Cartagena on May the 30th, 2022. Well, in my eyes, that doesn't look like justice to me. So, in 3 years of post-separation experience, I discovered just how difficult it is to mediate or negotiate with a personality who is angry, vindictive, and has already declared verbally that you cannot negotiate with me. 10 failed attempts with and without representation. The solicitors that I received advice from were really not helpful with the advice I was given. I knew I was in a precarious position from the date that the former partner came into the bedroom of our home and declared, "Do not fuck about with him." He was in control. I had to do as he says, or he could throw me out onto the streets. And that was before he even left to go to the UK, September 2020. Now, I do not want any woman to go through the same situation with conflicting legal advice. If there is abuse, there needs to be a clear way forward. Support the victim with a solution. Either take the route of legal negotiations or file a domestic abuse complaint. Either way, it has to be consistent legal advice with support. Now, I've created a petition to ask for legal mediation, legal negotiations, to mandate that as a first option in all cases where there's any dispute at the end of a marriage or a partnership. Because from what I've seen, the advice is conflicting, and if you're in a position where you're precarious, if you've been left without any funds, how can you get legal advice? It's very, very difficult. 12 different solicitors that I actually spoke to in the process of trying to get help, and nearly all of these solicitors I spoke to said similar things. Don't move out of the property, negotiate. Or when I'm talking about emotional and psychological abuse, then it's very difficult to prove emotional and psychological abuse. Well, that's just their get out clause, isn't it? Because they don't want to take on a case or think that the person hasn't got the funds. But if you have the money and they see little cash register signs at the end of this litigation, my guess is they'll be falling over themselves to help you and support you. How many women are left in that position where they've got the finance behind them to actually process a litigation that's forced on them? I doubt there's that many, because part of emotional and psychological abuse, there's hidden forms of abuse, which include financial abuse and sexual abuse, verbal abuse, and lots of other things. And sign this petition or share this petition so that more people can be aware of a situation that can happen at the end of a relationship, which turns into post-separation abuse and post-separation legal abuse. Thank you for listening.